welcome. Good evening. I'm Dawn Abbott. I'm Director of Interventional Cardiology at the Lifespan Cardiovascular Institute, and I'm a professor of medicine at Brown Medical School. And I'm really honored today to represent SCAI and Editor-in-Chief, Dr. Lansky. We're here today to discuss an important topic. It's a document that's published in SCAI entitled The Path to a Match for Interventional Cardiology Fellowship, a Major SCAI Initiative. Today, I'm joined by an expert panel. I've got Dr. Drachman, who is chair of the committee, the working group for the match with me, and he's director of education at the MGH Heart Center, director of Interventional Cardiology Fellowship at MGH in Boston. I'm also joined by the current president of SCAI, Dr. James Hermiller, Director of Interventional Cardiology Fellowship and Structural Heart Program at St. Vincent's Ascension Heart in Indianapolis. We also have Dr. Anna Bortnick. She's also a program director for Interventional Cardiology Fellowship at Montefiore Medical Center and Albert Einstein College of Medicine in the Bronx. And last but not least, we have Dr. Khanjan Shah. She's an assistant professor of cardiovascular medicine at the University of Florida College of Medicine in Gainesville and is actively involved in the education of fellows there. So I'd like to kick off the night by having Dr. Drachman provide us a summary of the match document. What do we have in store for us?
Great. Well, thanks so much for the kind introduction. And I'm just going to take a few minutes to talk about the document and a little bit of the background of what led to the development of this document and the entire initiative. So we'll take about 5 minutes and we'll review the historical situation for interventional cardiology fellow recruitment. We'll talk briefly about the advantages to develop an interventional cardiology match. We'll talk about the strategy that we employed to get to the point of having a match. And then finally, we'll touch briefly on what to expect when the match is implemented. So I think it's important to think about the history of recruiting interventional cardiology fellows. In the past, there was no structured timeline. And I think all of us as program directors or as candidates in the fellowship process, we recognize that there was really an accelerating cadence. Year over year, the process moved earlier and earlier in the year with the strong applicants being snapped up very quickly by program directors. And this was really not consistent with other advanced training programs, which really rely on the National Residency Matching Program match process. It was a really high pressure process. There were exploding offers that would be tendered. Fellows would be given 24 hours to decide, take this position or we move on to the next one down our list. And this really ultimately resulted in something that was unfair to candidates. It was just unfair to expect people to be able to make lifelong decisions in such a brief period of time. And it was also undesirable to fellowship programs who found themselves in a virtual arms race, trying to get there earlier in order to recruit the fellows and candidates who they wished to bring to their program. So we thought there were a lot of advantages to join the National Residency Matching Program match process. First and foremost, this would standardize the timeline. It would create kind of an open season, if you will, where it was opportune for people to be recruited and for program directors to recruit. It's really fair for the candidate. It gives people ample opportunity to look around and see what programs are available rather than have to jump at the first offer that's given to them. And we all felt that this really contributed to diversity and equity for all trainees, offering opportunity for programs to search beyond perhaps the usual programs to which they might have usually recruited their fellows and look further beyond to look for others of significant quality to recruit. And finally, this presented an opportunity for a binding commitment. There wouldn't be the opportunity for people to back out at the 11th hour to say, now I've got a better offer, I'm going to take this one instead, from either the program director side or from the fellowship candidate side. So what you can see here is just a diagram of the way that things used to operate and the way that we hope things will operate in the match next year. So the way it used to go, when fellows, for example, would be starting this coming July, the recruitment process would effectively start the moment that ERAS, the national site that hosts the application form for Interventional Cardiology Fellowship, would open in December, and there would be this mad scramble from programs reviewing the candidates and offering interviews, and then oftentimes the offers would be given even just within the first week. And that was really a full 18 months before the fellows would matriculate to the program. And so this was, really taking fellows who were a year and a half into fellowship, and they probably wrote their applications when they were just 1 year into cardiology fellowship programs. And that was early on in their experience, and they'd have to make big decisions. Now, with the match in 2025, the applications open in this coming July. And so that's when ERAS opens, and when the fellowship program directors can review these and start to offer opportunity for interviews. The rank lists are due on November 13th, 2024 for the candidates as well as for the program directors. And then the match day occurs on December 4th. And this is all, obviously in 2024 for fellows to come 6 months later in July of 2025. So, the process allows for a lot more opportunity for fellows to develop their prospective portfolios. This will be at the end of their second year that a lot of this process takes place, and gives people a lot more time to think about and pursue the application process. So how do we get here? How do we actually get to the point with SCAI's initiative to establish an interventional cardiology match? First and foremost, there was really a member-to-member influence campaign. We thought that would be most effective. A lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of discussions that were very frank among the program directors to get them to the point of agreeing to the match. There were weekly articles that were published in SCAI member publications to get the word out, to provide information to those who would be affected by a match. We hosted a series of town halls in which there were discussions and opportunity for people to ask questions and to kind of right-size this entire process. There were fellow interviews that were conducted that were posted on social media to give a 360-degree perspective of the match process. We engaged the press to get the word out. And there was outreach through other cardiovascular societies to help to spread the word and to build consensus here. So, really a lot of this began, just if you look at the timeline, this really began actually at the SCAI Fellows course in 2021, when a number of us were sitting around a lunch table kind of talking about the situation because ERAS had just opened and there was already a firestorm of recruitment calls going out to the candidates, and many of us were there with fellows and we were discussing all of this. That was December 2021. And Ajay Kirtane was inspired to post a Twitter poll asking, what do you think? Do you think there should be a cardiology match? And this generated a tremendous amount of discussion. You can see after that, SCAI took it upon themselves to convene a task force to address this issue in March of 2022. There were meetings hosted at the annual meeting. SCAI.org/match was a website that was established to serve as kind of the home base that still exists, and you can go there now if you want to look further, that provided information and opportunity for fellowship programs to sign up for the match. So you could put your name down and say, we at Mass General Hospital sign on to, and we commit to the match. There was a survey of fellows that was published, asking questions about what do you think about a match. And then our PR campaign began with the president's message. And you can see here the rest, the fellows' videos, there was press releases, there were town halls. And then finally, in November of 2022, we reached the thresholds that were required by the National Residency Matching Program to secure the idea of having a match. And you can see here the numbers that were required. We had to have 75% of the interventional cardiology training program sign up, and they had to commit a total of 75% of all the fellowship positions to this. And you can see these are current numbers because additional programs continue to sign up to this date. We have an overwhelming majority, 84% of the positions and 83% of the programs are committed now to the match. So we're very, very excited about having built this consensus and moving forward in a very positive direction. So finally, I want to talk about, what to expect. What do we think is going to happen when the match rolls out? In the publication that you will see in JSCAI, here is a table that lists advantages and disadvantages of the match. And I hope we'll have a chance to touch upon these in our discussion time. But, first and foremost, I hope I've highlighted many of these. It allows ample time to review the applications properly. It's not a firestorm. You can recruit more experienced and committed applicants because they will be submitting their applications at the end of their second year, whereas previously they had to submit sometime early in the second year or maybe in their first year to get everything into ERAS for the December deadline. There's really the convenience of immediate selection. So, when the match goes through, it's done. There's not this awkward process of, what do you think of us? There's what we think of you. Are you going to take us? We're going to give you some time to think about it. So that really codified the selection process. And then there's really this potential to increase the diversity of the applicant pool, where people can really look far and wide to find the candidates who are going to be the best fit for their programs. And it offers a binding contract, really, between the applicant and the program. I think some of the people who have hosted concerns about this, disadvantages are, we're going to have to screen a lot of candidates. You have to submit a list, and there's some degree of uncertainty as to where the candidates are going to rank your program. That's not part of the deal. You can't ask, how you're going to rank to the candidate, how are you going to rank our program? So, there's less control over the final match selection than if you offer sequentially each fellow, here's your spot, are you going to take it? And there's less ability to guarantee the recruitment of internal candidates. But on the flip side, it allows your internal candidates to look around and to think about what's best for them. In addition, there's less time to plan and begin fellow onboarding, because the match occurs in December, and then the fellows will come on in July. So for visa applications and so on and so forth. What this means for the fellows prior to the match, they had to apply very early in their second year of the fellowship program, but now it's effectively applying at the end of the second year. So you're submitting your application when you're a third-year fellow, so you have a whole more year of experience under your belt. There used to be variable application deadlines, and now it's very standardized. We showed the time frame there so you can see what the dates are. And the interview dates were extremely variable, and now it's much more, the timeline is really standardized. And in the past, there used to be these exploding offers, commit now or else you lose your chance. And here now it's going to be much more controlled, where the fellows can submit a ranked order of their preferences, and according to the match process, be allocated. So here's just the front page of the JSCAI article that's being released here. And I'd just like to offer our task force's gratitude to the SCAI leadership for having the confidence and support for this, the SCAI staff who worked absolutely tirelessly on this effort. The match task force was fantastic, very driven people who really believe in this process, and formed our writing group to compose this document as well. And also great thanks to the program directors and the fellows who committed to make this all happen. Here's the website again, scaii.org/match, if you wish to see any additional information. Thanks so much for inviting me to speak about this.
That's amazing overview, Doug. Thank you so much. And it's so good to see that document in print. And I encourage everybody to really take the opportunity to read through it, to learn about what it was like to go through this process. And I just want to start by asking Dr. Hermiller, as the current president of SCAI, this initiative would not have been possible without Drs. Henry and Dr. Rao. This committee spanned their presidencies, and if you heard of any discussions on the executive committee, why do you think now was the right time? Does it have to do with the maturity of our specialty, the growth? Was it spawned on? I mean, I guess COVID contributed, but why do you think SCAI acted now? And Doug and I were so happy to be tasked with leading the effort, but it's all on behalf of SCAI. So we just want to thank SCAI and hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I would first begin with thanking you and Doug for your incredible leadership. This was, a remarkable achievement. I had been in the last round of this maybe 12, 15 years ago, and it was just thumbs down.
Yeah, it didn't work.
Didn't get close to working. So I think your leadership and then SCAI's full all in. We were all in. And, Tim and Sunil saw what the benefit was. It became very clear that fellows were being shortchanged here. This was about the fellows. This isn't about the program directors. It may actually be a little more hassle, but clearly it is overwhelmingly a benefit to the fellows. And those are the future of our, interventional cardiology, and who we need to really protect and bring forward. And so I think, as far as a decision, something to support, this was obviously important, timely, particularly as chaotic as it had been It really had gotten bad. We all talked to those fellows that, hey, I've got 12 hours to decide, or, it goes away, it explodes. And clearly that was not fair. So this was the right time, and it's the right way to go.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to move to Dr. Bortnick. She was a member of our committee, so appreciate all the help. And how do you see this match helping with diversity and overall fairness and equity in our field of interventional cardiology?
Well, Dr. Abbott, this was something that we were just talking about, because, how is that going to affect a diverse pool of applicants? How are we going to move forward in this field and look a lot like our patients? I think, as Doug Drachman pointed out, we're going to have more time to evaluate those candidates from programs where we've never recruited from. And wouldn't that be an exciting thing to try and reach out to other programs where maybe there's a gem of a candidate and we would have never had the time to really properly evaluate them? So this is going to be our moment to be bold, be brave, and invite in some candidates we've just never considered before, because we just don't have, experience with their program that they're coming from. That's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to take some risks as programs to invite in new talent. And I think it's going to be an exciting outcome if we do it.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I think individuals who are a little timid about applying and who'd only sort of just started their fellowship, hadn't matured their thinking yet, hadn't have enough experience in the lab. So we may see some candidates emerging through the end of the first year that may have excluded it just on the basis of the rush and the competitiveness and feeling excluded from sort of the club. And now maybe they feel like they have a little time to consult with their mentors, to look for a program that really suits their needs and their family's needs. And I think it'll really help in that regard. And just having a little more time and ability to think through decisions will really help the candidates considerably. And we don't have any fellows with us on the line today, but I just wanted to let you know some of the committee members were fellows. Fellows did work on this document, and they're listed as authors, and we really listened to the fellows. It was we learned from them. We learned about their concerns as well. One of their major concerns was they don't want to upset their own program if they want to look elsewhere. It's a big concern. And some of them felt like, well, if you're in a program with an interventional fellowship, you have a little bit of an advantage, or are you going to lose that? So I don't know if anyone on the panel wants to, Doug, you mentioned some of the disadvantages. How are you going to handle the internal candidates? How are you going to handle the transparency around if someone from your program wants to interview outside your program?
Yeah, I would hope that we'd be really fair and thoughtful and transparent about this, that it's really about the fellows. And if there's somebody who, for preferences, for family reasons, for a sort of job direction or trajectory, wants to be somewhere else, we should be supportive of them. And conversely, if they're a really strong candidate, you could still rank them number one as the program director. And if they decide that they want to be with you, or if they don't match at the other program, you may still wind up, having them match with you as well. It's really about assessing your priority for who you want to have in your program and allowing each candidate to assess what is their priority for where they want to be. And I don't think that a program director should be in a position to interfere with their own internal candidate's decision about where they want to go. And I don't think that their candor about this should influence the program director's decision about their candidacy for that program as well. I think a program director should get on the horn, on the phone, and call their friend who's the program director at the other institution where this candidate wants to matriculate, and advocate for them if they're a strong candidate. So hopefully this just enables opportunity for people to really communicate, share experience, and say, what do we think is going to be best for the applicant pool?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think we want to advocate for our own trainees. And I tell my trainees, I don't remember the last time someone went somewhere and I didn't receive a call. So I'm hoping that we will all do the right thing in that regard. Dr. Shah, you've been working with your fellowship program, recruiting fellows. You've been in education for a long time. What do you see might be obstacles for the program, or have you discussed in your own program? Are you going to interview more candidates? How are you going to handle open discussions with your candidates? Did you guys have any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think overall the initiative is a very positive one, especially for fellows who are our number one priority. I think from a programmatic standpoint, we will need to interview more candidates, which is always a good thing. There's a cost associated with that. There's some administrative burden associated with that. But I think that in the end, you will end up with trainees that want to be at your location and for whom your specific clinical training meets their needs. And there, that's a win-win proposition. I think another thing I'm learning is that for most people, this is a final step in a very long road of training. And so they may have some preferences on where they want to settle long term, and some of their decision making in terms of training may be based on that. So, being close to where you want to settle, you may be more likely to have connections to find a job position. And so I think that, again, this will help our trainees be happier, be more supported, not only in their professional lives, but they're in their personal lives. And they always perform better when they are supported well all around. So I think it's going to be just a winning proposition.
Yeah, those are all phenomenal points. I guess we have a couple of minutes left. Doug, I don't know if you know these by memory or you want to bring up a slide, but can we just talk about the key time points, the key deadlines? When are programs going to have access to applicants, and when is their rank list due? I think that would be something just to emphasize. I'm sure people are going to be looking into the document at that the timeline figure. I think that yes, this figure is excellent.
I think this is. I'm glad you asked this, and this is in the document, and this is announced, through the National Residency Matching Program as well. But fundamentally, this is now synchronized with all other cardiology fellowship programs. I was a general cardiology fellowship program director for 9 years. You get used to the cadence of this. So, July is when ERAS opens. So the fellows in training can submit their kind of application materials and so on and so forth. And then these become available to the fellowship program director shortly thereafter. And then the match officially opens in August. And the rank lists must be submitted by November 13th. There's no exceptions. This is ironclad, the door's shut, there's no rescission. So fellows got to put in their rank list and the program director's got to put in theirs. That's November 13th. And then the match day is December 4th. This is a really exciting time. I think it usually is around noon when they release the results and everybody finds out at the same time. So, and then obviously July 1st is when they start. So, the whole process starts a year in advance now. And the sort of date when you have to submit everything is about, November to July. It's 8 months in advance of the matriculation date. So everything is much more reasonable and it provides a lot of time in between.
Terrific. So it seems like programs will have several months to go through the process of reviewing applications and scheduling interviews, whether they're most likely to be virtual. Some may have in-person options. But that's a lot longer than we've had in the past. And okay, so maybe on that December day, we'll all be celebrating together, and hopefully we'll find this was a successful first match. And hopefully people will tune in, review our manuscript, and continue to support the match and call us if there's any issues. So I want to thank my panel. You guys were wonderful, tremendous insight on what this match means for programs, fellows, for our community. And thank you again to SCAI and JSCAI for giving us this platform. Good night, everybody.